Hello everybody, welcome back to day 3 of the Hippos on Holiday using the Hello Bluebird stamp set. For today's card, I'm only going to be using the stamp set. I had challenged myself to use these 2 paper pads in creating these cards this week, but they didn't make it onto this card. So for this card, I'm doing an oversized card that fits into a business-sized envelope. I was really inspired by one of the Hello Bluebird design team members. This is the card that she made with all the little hippos frolicking in the ocean. So I wanted to do my own take on that. So I cut my card base to equal 4 by 9 3/8. And let's jump into creating the card. So you saw there, I laid out my wave border dies. Those are from MFT. I cut out all my borders. I went ahead and distress inked a couple of them, so you only had to see me do one. And now I'm just going to show you how I did one of those. So I'm using tumbled glass and peacock feathers to do the ocean. And I was trying to go for a darker look at the top of the wave and then having it lighter as it went down to the bottom. So I will link the products below if you're interested in everything. Here are the 3 different wave panels that I'm going to be using. I sprayed those generously with water with my Tim Holtz Distress Sprayer, let that sit, edited it out, and then used my microfiber cloth to dab up that ink. So I've gone ahead, I've actually done the beach portion right onto my card base. And I did that the same as I did for the beach in card number 1, which I will link in case you missed. I just used antique linen and vintage photo. So I'm just adhering the different wave panels onto the card base. For the 2 that will be at the bottom that I just did, I simply adhered those down using my Mega Runner. For this 3rd level, I am using 3M foam adhesive. So I'm just going to get these into place of where I want them, and then we'll start putting the images onto the card. I add some of the white acrylic paint to the ocean. So after doing this with the beach where the water hits the sand, I thought, I wonder what this would look like if I did the same sort of thing, almost like white caps or white foam on the ocean waves. So I wasn't quite sure how this was going to turn out. I do really like it, and a lot of the images color it up, so it just gives it a little something extra. So I'm going to just kind of stipple this on to the card bases, and then I am going to let this dry for a little bit. I did use my heat tool to speed up the drying process, but you want to make sure that it's good and wet before you start playing around with getting your images on to the panel. So we're just going to move on to that in a second here, but I was pretty heavy-handed with this. You could definitely do it a lot lighter than I did, but I really love the effect that it gives, and the more layers you put on, the more kind of depth and dimension there is to it. So you can see here, this is where I'm using my heat tool. And now I'm going to set the images into place. So I wanted to make it look like this little guy was swimming. So I cut off his legs, and then I'm going to just place them wherever I think looks appealing to the eye. I found this guy just needed a little bit more gray on his back, so I touched him up. I'm going to have this one kind of just peeking with his head, so I cut a portion of his body off. And then this little guy sitting in the ocean, and then I'm going to have one laying on a water float, just kind of bobbing up and down in the ocean. So I'm going to add a couple of beach balls just to fill out the scene here. And then I'm going to adhere these all down with my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, and all the supplies will be listed below. in case you missed anything and want to know what exactly it was that I used to create this card. I really love the way this turned out. I appreciate being inspired by other crafters, and I absolutely loved this scene that the design team member had made. And I love the fact that you can be inspired by something and then really take it to create your own unique variation of it. I love this little guy with his head peeking out between the waves. For this little hippo, I decided I wanted to have his arm coming out over the little wave, so he is kind of like standing in the ocean and he's putting his arms up to kind of break the wave. He's got his little beach ball there. And then I decided, just for something a little extra, that I would adhere these little starfish, yeah, here and there. And then I'm going to add the sentiment. I'm just using VersaFine, and I stamped the sentiment "Make a Wish," and I'm going to put a little starfish right beside that as well. For some last detailing, I'm going to use my distress marker in Vintage Photo, and I'm just going to add some dots to the beach area. It's probably hard to see on camera, but it does give it some nice texture and dimension when you're looking at it straight on. And then once I get that done, I'm going to take a couple of the little splashes from the stamp set, and I'm going to use, I think it was the tumbled glass that I used, to just add some of those splashes. And right now I'm using my white Signo gel pen just to add some white detailing to the beach balls and the little teeth on the hippos and their little fingernails and toenails. And then I'm using a black jelly glaze pen to give them some dimension to their eyes. So here's where I'm stamping the little splash mark. So I use the tumbled glass distress ink. And then I'm going to take some of the paint and just color it inside of the little splashes of water, because I felt like you couldn't really see them. So they have a very faint blue outline, and then it just looks like the water is splashing with some of the white inside of little splashes of water. So that's basically my card. I am going to add some glossy accents to the little floaty ring and the beach balls. I'm just going back and adding some more dimension here with the acrylic paint. And you can just keep adding layers, getting the dimension that you want if you decide to try this technique out. And I just wanted to make sure there was a bit more white, just because I felt like it was a little bit bare at the bottom here. So here's where I'm going to use the glossy accents on the little floaty, and like I said, the beach balls, and then this card is complete. So I hope you enjoyed day 3. Stay tuned for card number 4 tomorrow, and I hope you all have a fantastic day, and thanks for joining me today and sharing some of your day with me. I really appreciate it. Take care, everybody. Bye.